He ate 180 grams of protein every single day for 4 months. Chicken, eggs, whey shakes, cottage cheese, the full protocol. He did not miss a meal. He did not skip a session. And at the end of those 4 months, his muscle scan showed he had lost tissue. Not because protein does not work, because 9 specific biological locks inside his muscle cells were closed, and not a single gram of protein he swallowed had a key to open them. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what those locks are, why they slam shut after 60, and which 9 fruits carry the keys. One of those fruits costs less than $1. You have probably bought it 100 times without knowing what it was actually doing, or failing to do, inside your body. We are counting down from 9 to 1. Each fruit is more targeted than the last. Fruit number 1 will reframe everything you thought you understood about muscle loss. Quick question before we start, and answer this honestly in your head. How many times this week did you eat a solid protein meal and feel absolutely no difference in your strength or your recovery the next day? If the answer is more than twice, keep watching. That feeling is not in your imagination. It is biology, and it is fixable. After 60, your muscle cells do not respond to protein the way they used to. And the reason is not that you need more protein. The reason is that the machinery inside the muscle cell that converts dietary protein into new muscle tissue has been progressively damaged by 4 compounding failures. Chronic low-grade inflammation that blocks the growth signal, mitochondria so degraded they cannot power the protein synthesis process, insulin resistance so advanced that the master switch for muscle building cannot fully activate, and blood flow so reduced that amino acids from your meals are never efficiently delivered to the muscle fibers that need them. You can double your protein intake, and every single one of those 4 failures will still be operating. The protein arrives at the factory gate. The gate is locked. The protein sits outside and eventually gets burned for energy or excreted. This is the clinical reality behind a phenomenon researchers call anabolic resistance. The muscle's progressive inability to respond to the normal triggers for growth. A study published in the Journal of Physiology in 2016 confirmed that older adults require significantly higher anabolic stimulation than younger adults to achieve the same rate of muscle protein synthesis, not because they need more protein, but because the downstream machinery is impaired. The protein is not the problem. The locks are the problem. What you are about to learn is how 9 specific fruits target 9 specific locks: inflammation, mitochondrial damage, insulin resistance, poor blood flow, acid-base imbalance, protein digestion failure, amino acid transport failure, myostatin overexpression, neuromuscular junction deterioration, and creatine depletion, through molecular mechanisms that no animal food and no protein supplement can replicate. Start by understanding that these are not general health benefits. These are targeted biological interventions that address the exact mechanisms driving your muscle loss. Knowing this changes how you shop, how you eat, and what you expect from your meals. Number 9. Watermelon picture. The amino acids from your last protein meal as a delivery fleet, trucks loaded with the raw materials your muscles need. Now picture the roads to your muscle cells as 2-lane paths, clogged, narrowed by years of arterial stiffening and running at half capacity. The trucks are fully loaded, but they cannot get through. That is the blood flow problem after 60, and watermelon is one of the most direct solutions in any food on the planet. Watermelon is the single richest natural food source of L-citrulline, an amino acid that your kidneys convert into L-arginine, which your blood vessel walls then use to produce nitric oxide, the gas molecule that relaxes and widens arteries. Wider arteries mean faster delivery of oxygen and amino acids to working muscle. They also mean faster removal of ammonia and lactate, the waste products that accumulate during exercise and directly suppress the muscle-building pathway by interfering with the mechanistic target of rapamycin complex. A study published in the European Journal of Nutrition found that citrulline supplementation from watermelon juice increased the rate of muscle protein synthesis following exercise compared to placebo, attributing the improvement to both enhanced blood flow and accelerated ammonia clearance. A second study in the British Journal of Nutrition confirmed significantly reduced muscle soreness and faster recovery in the citrulline group. More blood flow means more protein arrives. Less ammonia means the growth signal stays on. 2 cups of fresh watermelon before or after physical activity provides approximately 250 milligrams of citrulline. The rind contains even higher concentrations than the flesh. Blend it whole into a smoothie for a substantially larger dose. Watermelon also provides lycopene, a potent antioxidant that protects the mitochondrial membranes inside your muscle cells from oxidative damage, and vitamin B6, a cofactor for the enzymes that metabolize amino acids. The blood flow unlock is the headline. The supporting cast makes it more durable. Number 8. Tart cherries. Here is something the standard inflammation conversation always misses. Inflammation after 60 does not just make your muscles sore. It issues a demolition order. When inflammatory molecules, specifically interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha, are chronically elevated in your bloodstream, they do 2 distinct things to your muscle tissue. First, they block the mechanistic target of rapamycin pathway, the master switch for muscle protein synthesis, making it less sensitive to leucine, the amino acid that is supposed to trigger the entire growth cascade. Second, they activate a separate pathway controlled by a family of proteins called forkhead box O transcription factors. When these proteins are switched on by inflammatory signals, they upregulate genes called atrogenes, the genes that produce the enzymes responsible for physically dismantling your muscle protein through the ubiquitin proteasome system. Your body is not just failing to build, it is actively tearing down. Tart cherry anthocyanins, specifically cyanidin compounds, suppress both pathways simultaneously. They inhibit the nuclear factor kappa B signaling cascade that drives inflammatory molecule production, and they quiet the forkhead box O pathway that issues the demolition order. A study published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition found that tart cherry supplementation reduced muscle damage markers by up to 50% after intense exercise, with creatine kinase levels, the direct measure of muscle fiber breakdown, substantially lower in the tart cherry group. Tart cherries do not just reduce soreness. They cancel the order to tear your muscle down. 1 tablespoon of tart cherry juice concentrate or 1 cup of frozen tart cherries daily provides a clinically relevant anthocyanin dose. Tart cherries also contain natural melatonin, which deepens sleep, and growth hormone, the primary driver of overnight muscle repair, is released in its largest pulse during deep sleep. The anti-inflammatory effect and the sleep effect work on the same problem from opposite directions. Number 7. Kiwi. What if a significant portion of the protein you are eating every day is never actually reaching your muscles? Not because your muscles are broken, but because your gut is failing to break the protein down? After 60, stomach acid production declines. Pancreatic enzyme output drops. The gut lining becomes less efficient at absorbing the free amino acids that result from digestion. The practical consequence is that a measurable percentage of the protein in every meal you eat passes through your digestive system only partially broken down. The amino acids locked inside that protein never enter your bloodstream. They never reach your muscle cells. You paid for the raw materials. They were shipped to the wrong address. Kiwi fruit contains a proteolytic enzyme called actinidin that directly compensates for this decline. Actinidin works across the full pH range of the gastrointestinal tract, from the acidic stomach to the more alkaline small intestine, breaking down meat, dairy, and plant proteins into smaller peptides and free amino acids more efficiently than your aging digestive system can manage alone. A study published in Advances in Food and Nutrition Research demonstrated that adding kiwi to a protein meal significantly increased the rate and completeness of protein digestion, with more amino acids released, more absorbed, and more available for muscle protein synthesis. Better digestion is not a comfort issue. It is a delivery issue. More amino acids absorbed means more muscle built. 2 kiwis eaten alongside your main protein meal provides actinitin plus over 100% of the daily vitamin C requirement. Vitamin C is essential for collagen synthesis, and collagen forms the structural framework of tendons, fascia, and the intramuscular connective tissue that every muscle fiber depends on. Research from the Australian Institute of Sport, published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, found that vitamin C consumed 60 minutes before exercise roughly doubled the rate of collagen synthesis in tendon tissue. Eat 2 kiwis with your pre-workout meal. The enzyme opens the digestion lock. The vitamin C strengthens the scaffolding. Number 6. Banana. Most people think of the muscle-building pathway as a single switch. You eat protein, leucine flips the switch, muscle grows. The reality is closer to a lock with 2 keys, and after 60, most people are only ever inserting one. The mechanistic target of rapamycin complex, the master regulator of muscle protein synthesis, requires 2 simultaneous activation signals to open fully. The first is leucine from dietary protein. The second is insulin. Without an insulin signal, even a strong leucine stimulus produces only a partial response. The door opens halfway. Amino acids enter at reduced rate. The growth window closes early. A banana eaten with your post-exercise protein meal provides the fast-digesting carbohydrates that trigger the insulin response, turning both keys at once and opening the pathway completely. But bananas carry a second mechanism that almost no one discusses. They are one of the richest fruit sources of potassium, providing approximately 420 millimoles per medium fruit. After 60, the body tends toward mild metabolic acidosis, a subtle shift toward acidity driven by declining kidney function and typical dietary patterns. This chronic mild acidity directly promotes muscle protein breakdown and suppresses muscle protein synthesis. Potassium acts as a physiological buffer, shifting the acid-base balance back toward neutral. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that higher potassium intake was significantly associated with greater lean muscle mass in older adults, independent of protein intake and physical activity level. 1 banana. 2 locks opened, the insulin key and the acid-base key, both turning simultaneously. Eat 1 banana with your post-exercise protein meal. The carbohydrates fire the insulin co-signal. The potassium buffers the acid environment that would otherwise dissolve the muscle you just worked to build. Bananas also provide vitamin B6, a cofactor for the transaminase enzymes involved in amino acid metabolism, ensuring more of the protein you eat is directed toward muscle building rather than burned for energy. We are halfway through the list, and you have already seen 5 molecular locks that protein alone cannot open: blood flow, inflammation, protein digestion, insulin signaling, and acid-base balance. The next 4 fruits go deeper. We are moving into mitochondrial renewal, cellular cleanup, neuromuscular protection, and the one mechanism that is silently capping your muscle growth, regardless of how hard you train or how much protein you eat. If this is landing for you, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Not as a favor to me, but because the next video in this series covers what happens to muscle tissue during sleep, and it will change how you structure your entire evening routine. Now, fruit number 5. Number 5. Avocado. In 2003, a researcher named Luc Van Loon began investigating why older adults with adequate protein intake were still losing muscle mass. What his team found changed how sports scientists think about the protein delivery problem. The issue was not protein quantity, it was transport. The proteins embedded in muscle cell membranes that physically carry amino acids from the bloodstream into the cell, the amino acid transporters, were damaged. Oxidative stress had degraded the cell membrane they were anchored in. The transporters had lost their structural integrity. Amino acids were arriving at the cell wall and bouncing off. Avocado addresses this through glutathione, the most concentrated source of this master antioxidant found in any commonly consumed fruit. Glutathione protects the structural integrity of muscle cell membranes, keeping the transporter proteins functional and maintaining the active uptake of amino acids into the cell. A study published in the American Journal of Physiology found that reduced glutathione levels in skeletal muscle were directly correlated with impaired leucine uptake, and when glutathione was restored, the muscle protein synthesis response to protein feeding was partially rescued. Avocado also contains avocatin B, a unique fatty acid found in no other common fruit, shown to improve insulin sensitivity in skeletal muscle by reducing the accumulation of ceramides and diacylglycerols, the toxic lipid byproducts that are the primary drivers of muscle insulin resistance after 60. You can flood your bloodstream with amino acids. If the transporter is broken, none of them get inside. 1/2 to 1 avocado daily, paired with your main protein meal. The glutathione repairs the transport system. The avocatin B restores the insulin sensitivity that ensures the growth pathway is fully primed to receive those amino acids once they arrive. Avocado also provides 975 milligrams of potassium per fruit, more than double a banana, adding a third potassium source to the acid-base buffering system you are building across this protocol. Number 4. Pomegranate. Inside every muscle cell in your body right now, there are mitochondria that are no longer producing energy efficiently. They are damaged. Their membranes are leaking. Instead of generating ATP cleanly, they are releasing free radicals that corrode the signaling proteins your muscle cells use to respond to growth stimuli, and they are not being removed. After 60, the cellular cleanup system that identifies and eliminates these damaged mitochondria, a process called mitophagy, slows down significantly. The trash accumulates. The cell becomes progressively more toxic to itself. Pomegranate is the only commonly consumed fruit that provides L-glutathione in sufficient quantity to drive meaningful urolithin A production in the gut. When your gut bacteria convert pomegranate L-glutathione into urolithin A, this molecule enters muscle cells and directly reactivates mitophagy, forcing the cell to identify, tag, and break down the damaged mitochondria that have been poisoning it. The cellular debris is cleared. Fresh, efficient mitochondria are synthesized to replace them. A clinical trial published in Nature Medicine described urolithin A supplementation as producing mitochondrial improvements comparable to the effects of regular endurance exercise in older adults. A second study, published in Nature Aging, found that urolithin A also rejuvenated satellite cells, the muscle stem cells responsible for repair and growth, making them more responsive and better able to generate functional new muscle fibers rather than converting to fat or scar tissue. Urolithin A does not add to the muscle cell. It cleans it out so growth can start again. 1 cup of pomegranate juice or 1 cup of pomegranate arils daily provides the L-glutathione your gut bacteria need. Consistency matters here more than dose. Daily consumption cultivates the specific bacterial populations that perform the conversion, making urolithin A production more efficient over weeks of sustained intake. Number 3. Papaya. Imagine 2 groups of older adults, same age, same protein intake, same exercise routine. One group has consistently high blood levels of a specific carotenoid. The other group does not. When researchers measure their muscle mass and muscle strength, the group with high levels of that carotenoid has measurably more of both, and the association is stronger than for beta-carotene, lycopene, lutein, or any other individual antioxidant compound studied alongside it. That carotenoid is beta-cryptoxanthin, and papaya is one of the richest fruit sources available, providing more per serving than oranges, tangerines, or any other commonly cited source. A study published in the British Journal of Nutrition confirmed this association independently, finding that beta-cryptoxanthin blood levels predicted muscle mass and strength outcomes in older adults more reliably than any other carotenoid measured. The mechanism involves beta-cryptoxanthin's activation of a nuclear receptor that upregulates the internal antioxidant defenses of the muscle cell, specifically protecting mitochondrial membranes and growth-signaling proteins from the oxidative damage that accumulates with age. Beta-cryptoxanthin also has a direct anti-catabolic effect. It suppresses nuclear factor kappa B signaling in skeletal muscle tissue and reduces the expression of the atrogenes, the same demolition genes that tart cherries suppress, but through a distinct molecular entry point. Two fruits, two different pathways, both canceling the same demolition order. Beta-cryptoxanthin specifically outperforms every other antioxidant at protecting muscle. 1 to 2 cups of fresh or frozen papaya daily. Papaya also contains papain, a digestive enzyme that complements the actinidin in kiwi. 2 enzymes working across overlapping protein structures to maximize the amino acid yield from every meal. The dual enzyme protocol from kiwi and papaya together addresses the digestion lock more completely than either fruit alone. Number 2. Blueberries. What happens to a muscle fiber that loses its nerve connection? It does not weaken gradually. It goes silent. The brain sends the contraction signal. The signal travels down the motor nerve. It arrives at the neuromuscular junction, the synapse between the nerve terminal and the muscle fiber, and fails to cross. The muscle fiber never contracts. It sits idle, week after week, and eventually atrophies completely, regardless of how much protein is circulating in the bloodstream above it. After 60, the neuromuscular junction deteriorates at an accelerating rate. The nerve terminal retracts. The contact area between nerve and muscle fiber shrinks. The number of acetylcholine receptors on the muscle side of the junction declines. The release of acetylcholine, the chemical signal that bridges nerve to muscle, becomes unreliable. This is one of the primary drivers of the weakness, slowed reaction time, and balance deterioration that defines aging muscle. Not muscle size loss, but muscle disconnection. Blueberries contain pterostilbene, a compound structurally related to resveratrol, but absorbed into the bloodstream 4 times more efficiently. Pterostilbene activates sirtuin-1 in nerve terminal mitochondria, driving mitochondrial biogenesis at the junction site and restoring the energy supply that acetylcholine synthesis and release depend on. Research published in the journals of gerontology found that blueberry supplementation improved neuromuscular function, measured by grip strength, balance, and walking speed, in aged subjects. Muscle you cannot voluntarily activate is muscle you cannot build. Blueberries protect the connection. 1 to 2 cups of frozen wild blueberries daily. Wild varieties contain roughly double the pterostilbene and anthocyanin concentration of cultivated blueberries. Frozen retains full bioactivity at a fraction of the cost of fresh. The anthocyanins also stimulate nitric oxide production in blood vessel walls, adding a third mechanism for the vascular unlock that watermelon and papaya are already working on through citrulline and lycopene respectively. Number 1. Orange. Every other fruit on this list works by removing something that is blocking muscle growth. Inflammation, mitochondrial damage, poor digestion, insulin resistance, acidity, oxidative stress. Orange works differently. It removes a biological brake that your own muscle cells are applying to themselves. Myostatin is a protein produced by muscle tissue that signals the muscle to stop growing. In younger bodies, myostatin serves a regulatory function, keeping muscle proportionate and metabolically sustainable. After 60, myostatin expression increases significantly, and the brake becomes too strong. Your muscle cells receive the growth signals. The raw materials arrive. The machinery is primed. And then myostatin steps in and suppresses the response anyway. You are fighting your own biology. Hesperidin, a flavonone found in highest concentration in oranges and tangerines, has been shown to reduce myostatin expression in skeletal muscle while simultaneously increasing the expression of muscle growth factors. Research published in the journal Nutrients demonstrated this dual shift. The brake loosens and the accelerator strengthens at the same time. Hesperidin also activates the AMP-activated protein kinase pathway, which promotes mitochondrial biogenesis and clears the toxic lipid accumulation that drives muscle insulin resistance, complementing avocatin B from avocados through an independent molecular route. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Biochemistry and Nutrition confirmed that hesperidin supplementation improved muscle function and reduced muscle fatigue in older adults through enhanced mitochondrial efficiency. Myostatin tells your muscle to stop. Hesperidin tells myostatin to stand down. 2 to 3 whole oranges daily, not juice, whole fruit. The white pith contains the highest hesperidin concentration. Juicing discards most of it. Oranges also provide 70 mg of vitamin C per fruit, folate for homocysteine control, potassium for acid-base buffering, and nobiletin, a polymethoxylated flavone in the peel and pith that activates sirtuin-1 through a different molecular entry point than pterostilbene from blueberries, providing complementary mitochondrial renewal from 2 independent pathways. The most affordable fruit on this list. The most comprehensive single mechanism. Eat them every day. 9 fruits. 9 locks. Every pathway that was blocking your muscles from responding to protein, the inflammatory fire, the damaged mitochondria, the broken digestion, the insulin resistance, the acid-base shift, the amino acid transport failure, the neuromuscular disconnection, the myostatin break, each one addressed by at least 1 fruit, most by 2 or 3, working through independent molecular targets. Protein was never the missing piece. The construction crew was. These fruits are the crew. You do not need all 9 every single day. You need them consistently across each week, rotating so that over 7 days every pathway is covered. Bananas, kiwis, and oranges are easy daily habits. Blueberries and tart cherries alternate as evening additions. Watermelon and papaya go into the morning smoothie. Pomegranate and avocado pair with lunch. The next video covers what happens to your muscle tissue during sleep, specifically why the 4 hours between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. are the most anabolically critical window of every 24-hour cycle, and what to eat before bed to make those hours count. That one is worth setting a reminder for. Not professional advice. Consult a qualified expert as needed.